Superstardom, the bringer of riches and the pillager of privacy. Michael Jackson was a superstar, and his music entertained and continues to entertain several generations. In 2009, the King of Pop would ultimately pay the price for this superstardom with his life. Or did he? Welcome to episode 11 in the Alternative View series. Is Michael Jackson still alive? The evidence says yes. Over a 4-decade career, Michael's music achievements and scrutinised public life made him a worldwide phenomenon. He gained several musical world records and amassed an unbelievable wealth. Yet, as always, when he died, the press stated that he was in huge debt. This is highly unlikely, but it would start a conspiracy that would gather momentum and roll into a snowball so impacted that folk would find it just too hard to believe. I'm obviously talking about the fact that he could still be alive today. Let's melt this snowball together and find out if this is true, because I truly believe it is. First, a little history to set the scene and to prove that Michael was not ill and was not ready to go easily and was scared that some folk wanted him gone. If you don't want to hear this, please skip past, because what we reveal further on will shock you and you will truly believe that Michael is still alive. Michael was born in Gary, Indiana on August 29th, 1958 to Joe and Catherine Jackson. He was the 8th of 10 children. The large Jackson family lived initially in a small 2-bedroom house on, believe it or not, Jackson Street. Catherine, his mother, aspired to be a country and western performer, having the ability to play the clarinet and the piano. His father, Joe, a former boxer, was also a musician and supplemented the family income playing guitar in a rhythm and blues band called the Falcons. Michael grew up with his 5 brothers, Sigmund, Toriano, Jermaine, Marlon, and Stephen, and 3 sisters, Maureen, Latoya, and Janet. A 6th brother, Marlon's twin, Brandon, died shortly after birth. The father formed a group, the Jacksons, and in 1964, a very young Michael joined 3 of his brothers along with his brother Marlon. This is when, according to Michael himself, his father started abusing him both mentally and physically. He would constantly refer to Michael's physical appearance. The brothers recalled that their father used to sit in the chair during rehearsals with a belt ready to punish any mistakes. Joe, the father, acknowledged that he would often whip Michael, yet the older brothers accepted it as a means of discipline. Michael stated that he regularly felt lonely and isolated during his childhood. In 1965, Michael started to share the lead vocals with Jermaine, and the group changed their name to the Jackson 5. In 1966, the Jackson 5 toured the Midwest for a couple of years after winning a talent show with Michael on lead vocals. They were the warm-up act for groups like the OJs and Gladys Knight. Things were starting to move quickly for the talented brothers, and Michael was beginning to turn heads and ears. In 1968, the group entered the realm of Motown, and success began to really blossom. With the guidance of Diana Ross, the Jackson 5 performed at the 1969 Miss Black America beauty pageant. They were a massive success, and Rolling Stone magazine picked out Michael as a young kid with overwhelming musical gifts. This kick-started the group's ambitions, and in the early 1970s, they would top the American charts on several occasions with songs like I Want You Back, ABC, and I'll Be There. During this period, Michael had developed from a young, shy kid into a teenage pop idol, and the road to stardom opened up for him. The family moved to a large 2-acre estate in California, and although Michael maintained ties with his brothers and the group, the Jackson 5, he started solo projects. Between 1972 and 1975, Michael released a string of solo albums and solo singles. One thing that a lot of folk don't realise, I apologise if you already do, but during the performance of the Jackson 5 song Dancing Machine on Soul Train, Michael popularised the robot dance. Sorry, Peter Craig. The relationship between the Jackson family and Motown Records began to deteriorate in 1975 because the family felt they weren't getting the chance to put in their own input, and the Jackson 5 moved on to Epic Records and rebranded themselves as just the Jacksons again. Michael was now writing a lot of their songs and had success with Shake Your Body Down to the Ground and Can You Feel It. In 1977, Michael moved to the hustle and bustle of New York City to star alongside Diana Ross in the musical film The Wiz. He played the Scarecrow. It was a flop. A year on, 1978, Michael had his first plastic surgery. His father, back in the Jackson 5 rehearsal days, constantly mocked Michael for his nose. So Michael, obviously made conscious of his appearance, decided to have a rhinoplasty. He was referred to Stephen Hoflin, a plastic surgeon, to the stars. A 1979 solo album, Off the Wall, catapulted Michael from teenage pop idol to a more serious, complex musician, and in the next few years and into the early 80s, Michael was beginning to win award after award. He was now, in his own right, a worldwide star. Michael then upset the music moguls a tad with his demands to a 37% royalty rate for his music, the highest ever paid in the music industry. But the industry needed Michael more than they were willing to admit and agreed to it. By now, and I think we should have guessed it, it always seems to happen with fame, Michael's behaviour was becoming erratic. He teamed up with Freddie Mercury to do an album of duets, but Freddie was annoyed that Michael had brought a llama into the recording studios, and subsequently, after a bust-up, the album was put on the back burner. Then came the real fame, the real notoriety. Enter the album Thriller. With all its record-breaking feats and its worldwide success, another pivotal point happened. During 1983, at a Motown TV special, Michael reunited with his brothers, but the most notable point of the show was Michael's performance of one of Thriller's singles, Billie Jean. He performed for the first time, and in a rhinestone-clad single glove, his most accredited dance, the The crowd and the viewers went mad for it. Just as you thought Michael couldn't catapult any higher, this put him up there with the best and probably beyond. The Beatles caused a stir in their day. Elvis created crowd mayhem in his. This performance surpassed that. It was truly extraordinary. And who cannot remember the Thriller single video? I remember not being able to wait. I was a young'un, and a friend managed to get a copy, a copy of the video before its official release, and we watched it and was mesmerised by it. Can you remember watching it for the first time? Leave your reactions in the comments. Anyway, sorry, was getting sucked into a bit of nostalgia there. Where was I? Oh yeah. After his performance of Billie Jean, the world couldn't get enough of Michael. Dolls were made, single glitter gloves were being sold everywhere. Even gelled afro wigs were flying off the shelf. He definitely made it now. Later that year, something happened that would map Michael's life forever and probably kickstart an obsession for plastic surgery. Michael and his brothers entered a contract with Pepsi. They would do a number of high-priced commercials over the next few months. In January 1984, whilst filming one of the ads, pyrotechnics accidentally set fire to Michael's hair. He suffered painful second-degree burns. To cover the scars, he required plastic surgery to his scalp. Michael also had another nose job while there. It all got a bit complicated and Pepsi settled out of court. Michael donated the compensation to a burns unit in a local hospital. Talking of giving to charity, Michael also donated his share of the proceeds of the Victory Tour after controversy around the price of the tickets. He gave away around $3 to $5 million. His next major project was charity-based also. He teamed up with Lionel Richie and co-wrote We Are the World. Michael then teamed up with former Beatle Paul McCartney. He learnt that McCartney was earning £40 million a year from owning other artists' songs. This amazed Michael, and just a few months later he started bidding for the publishing rights on other songs, starting off small. Robert Holmes à Court, Australia's first ever billionaire, announced that he was selling the rights to nearly 4,000 Beatles songs. Michael visited a court and finalised a deal to purchase them, along with others. He purchased them for $47.5 million. This may hold purpose for why Michael possibly faked his own death. Stay with me. By the late 80s, Michael had been diagnosed with vitiligo, a condition that causes patches of skin to lose their pigment and to go pale in appearance. He would often use skin bleaching creams to cover the uneven blotches. He was starting to become stressed over the rumours from the press and alike that he wanted to turn white, but Michael was stern to the fact that he was dealing with his vitiligo. By the early to mid-90s, Michael was suffering from other conditions also. People were saying he had an eating disorder, that he was addicted to plastic surgery, and that he was beginning to go off the rails a tad. A leaked photo in the National Enquirer even showed Michael sleeping in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. You could tell Michael was a superstar because the press was now hounding him constantly and clutching at every straw just to create a story. No change there then. According to the media, Michael had tried to buy the bones of John Merrick, the disfigured guy that was known as the Elephant Man. The British press cruelly branded Michael as Wacko Jacko. He despised this. In 1988, Michael purchased a 2,700-acre plot of land in California to create a new home. Neverland Ranch, he called it. And he had things like a Ferris wheel, a massive carousel, and a zoo constructed. Michael's charitable donations continued. He donated nearly $500,000 and the total proceeds of his single Man in the Mirror to the UNCF. In 1991, Michael renewed his contract with Sony Records, who offered him a record-breaking deal. The next few years didn't slow down for Michael. He performed at the Super Bowl 27. He gave an in-depth interview to, I hate saying this name, Oprah Winfrey. He carried on winning awards, having hit singles, hit albums, and was touring and visiting all over the world. Michael was a household name. Kids loved him, parents loved him, and the record industry couldn't get enough of him. And then Jordan Chandler and his father entered the mix. 13-year-old Jordan accused Michael of sexual abuse. Michael denied it immediately and vigorously. All of Michael's close associates accused Jordan's father of trying to extort money from a famous name, except his sister LaToya. But she would later go on to retract all of her statements and allegations blaming her abusive husband. The police raided Michael's home and found certain things. But these things were unopened gifts that Michael had received from his fans. He received hundreds of gifts every day. Nonetheless, the accusations were serious, and Jordan, the 13-year-old lad, gave a description of Michael's private parts. A strip search was ordered by the court, and a jury declared it wasn't a match. The police dropped the case, and the state closed its investigation. After this, Michael proposed marriage to Elvis Presley's daughter, Lisa Marie. The two wed in May 1994. This marriage only lasted just over a year. The marriage was over in December 1995, and Lisa Marie only requested her maiden name back and nothing more. In November 1995, Jackson merged his ATV music catalogue with Sony's music publishing division, creating Sony ATV Music Publishing. He retained ownership of half the company, earning $95 million up front, as well as the rights to more songs. 1996 became an eventful year for Michael. He married for a second time, this time to Debbie Rowe, an assistant at the dermatologist's office. They went on to have two children, a son and a daughter, Michael Jr., or Prince, as he was later nicknamed, and Paris. Michael took full responsibility in raising the kids after the two divorced in the year 2000. The millennium passed and Michael was as busy as ever. Here's a fact for you. In the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center in 2001, Michael was scheduled to be in the building at the time, but overslept that morning. Make of it as you will. By 2002, once again, Michael's behaviour was becoming erratic again. He had another child, this time born to an anonymous surrogate mother through artificial insemination, Prince Michael II, nicknamed Blanket. Who names their kid Blanket? Sorry if your name is Blanket, but remember when Michael dangled the child out of the balcony? Now that's erratic. Right now we're into the nitty gritty of Michael's life, which leads up to his alleged death. In 2002, Michael publicly called the Sony music chairman, Tommy Mottola, a racist for exploiting black artists, and also called him very devilish, if you know what I mean.
Sony, Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
Not long after that, Michael was confronted by Martin Bashir. Yeah, the same Martin Bashir that stitched up Lady Diana. Remember, with his interview with her on False Pretenses, the Panorama programme on the lovely BBC. Michael agreed to do a documentary with this idiot, Martin Bashir. It was called Living with Michael, and Bashir followed Michael around for 8 months. It was a big hit, but it affected Michael big time. It showed him in a light that wasn't him. It over-sensationalised to sell a programme, although Michael did state that he had sleepovers with minors. Nothing sexual, just sleepovers and fun, and his words were being misunderstood. Was this because Michael was deprived of his real childhood by his forceful father? Anyhow, it mustered a storm, and the press went ballistic. Michael and his crew accused Bashir of over-exaggerating things purely to sensationalise the programme. Yellow journalism, it's called. Jackson's manager at the time, Dieter Weisner, said of the documentary, "It broke him. It killed him. He took a long time to die, but it started that night." Bashir went on to say after Michael's death, his lifestyle may have been a bit unorthodox. I don't believe it was criminal. But mud sticks. On December the 18th, 2003, Santa Barbara authorities charged Jackson with 7 counts of child molestation and 2 counts of intoxicating a minor with alcoholic drinks. Jackson denied the allegations and pleaded not guilty. The trial began on January the 31st, 2005, and lasted for 4 months. Jackson found the experience stressful, and it affected his health badly. On June the 13th, Jackson was acquitted on all counts. FBI files on Jackson, released in 2009, revealed the FBI's role in the 2005 trial and the 1993 allegations, and showed that the FBI found no evidence of criminal conduct on Jackson's behalf. None whatsoever. Now, these FBI revealings in 2009 was the same year that Michael died. Was Michael happy to leave now, to fake his own death, to disappear, now that all the allegations were wiped? Plus, were all the original allegations an act to bring Michael down? Was it Sony? Who knows? Anyhow, this had turned Michael into a recluse. Rumours knocked about that he was in financial difficulty. He closed part of his Neverland ranch, and it is alleged that 40 of employees had not been paid. Complications over an investment bank loan appeared, and Michael seemed like he was in decline. I've got to say, how can anyone with so much wealth, so much coming in, be on the verge of bankruptcy? It just doesn't add up in my eyes. In March 2009, Michael announced a series of comeback tours. Weirdly, it was named This Is It. He also announced that he would retire after the tour. Something was plotting, or at least someone was. They increased the tour dates due to the incredible ticket sales. More than 1 million were sold in just 2 hours. Despite his recent traumas and allegations, Michael was still as popular as ever. On June the 25th, 2009, less than 3 weeks before his concert was due to begin in London, with all concert tickets sold out, Jackson died from a cardiac arrest. Conrad Murray, his personal physician, had given Jackson various medications to help him sleep, at his rented mansion in Los Angeles. Paramedics received a 911 call just after midday Pacific time and arrived in just 4 minutes. At Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center at 2:26 that afternoon, Michael was pronounced dead. Such was Michael's popularity that when his death was announced to the public, certain internet sites crashed with user overload. But the real question posed by this video is, did he die? Let's have a closer look. First off, we have to question the very announcement of Michael's death. His former attorney and spokesperson, Brian Oxman, announced it on CBS News. You can see that Oxman is not downbeat, he is not sad, and is actually trying not to laugh at one point. It's strange, and not how you expect someone who was close to Michael to react.
Hello, Harry, how are you? It is a very sad day for me here. I am heartbroken.
What's it like to be with members of Michael's family today?
I got a call just a little bit before noon that Michael had been taken from the hospital by Randy's assistant, who gave me that call. And I then came over here, talked to Randy. I said, Randy, what's happened? He says, I don't know, Brian, I'll meet you at the medical center. We got here, and when I saw him, we just hugged, Harry. We could not even speak to one another. The tears were streaming down his face. He went into the next room with his family. Jermaine then arrived, and we couldn't even talk. We just hugged, we stood there, we cried, and I am heartbroken.
Six months before the tragic death, it was reported in several newspapers that several close friends of Michael had announced that the star had only 6 months to live. Bizarrely, exactly 6 months later, Michael died. Did they know Michael was planning his demise? Had he told them? Were they given a date to when he would disappear and fake his own death to avoid all the traumas in his life at the time? Trust me, we are only at the tip of the iceberg. There is much more proof. Michael's funeral alone was a bit on the strange side, to say the least. Michael was a Jehovah's Witness like his mother, although they don't, as a rule, demand an open casket funeral. When it's a famous star, they normally do, unless, of course, the deceased is not in good preserve, i.e. accident or alike. Michael's was a closed casket funeral, and his mother even stated that the coffin was empty. Why would she say that? Plus, the funeral was held on a movie set. Why? In one of Michael's songs from his Bad album was Liberian Girl. In the music video, which is weird in itself, it captures a cast of famous singers and actors preparing for the video and lip-syncing to the song. It captures their reactions and their playfulness. They are constantly asking where Michael is. Eventually, in the video, Michael reveals himself as the director and that he had been secretly filming them. During the video, a mummy wrapped up in bandages can be seen, with the stars wondering who it was. At Michael's funeral, which was on set, don't forget, you can even see the studio lighting part of the footage. The cover of Liberian Girl is on display, not a picture of Michael. Is that telling us that Michael is once again secretly watching them? And was it him as the mummy? Going back to the day of his death and the inquiries that followed, Michael spent his last few months at a rented multi-million-dollar mansion. The security was top-notch and fail-proof. It had cameras everywhere, inside and out. It had security cameras in every room. So you would have thought they could have seen Michael's last hours, including the last time that his personal physician, Conrad Murray, spoke with Michael, as it was he who would later be jailed for involuntary manslaughter. But hold on. Dozens of the security footage on that day, on June the 25th, the day of his death, have mysteriously gone missing. How convenient. Talking of his physician, Conrad Murray, why did Murray, whilst talking on the Dr. Oz show and after his jail sentence, say it wasn't Michael that he found that night? He says it was someone else.
And when I came back, he was in a different position. He was no longer on the pillow. He had moved down, lower in the bed and closer to the edge. But he was there, but it wasn't the same person I saw.
Plus, during Conrad Murray's trial, There seemed to be rabbits, rabbits, positioned in the courtroom. Michael loved rabbits and used them as a statement of magic, of disappearance, as in the magician pulling a rabbit out of the hat. Don't forget, Michael uses rabbit disguise in his Speed Demon video to avoid capture. Plus, after his death, his children can be seen wearing t-shirts with a rabbit on. Is this another one of Michael's Easter eggs, showing his fans that he's still alive? Let's not forget also that Michael had written a book about a famous pop star that everybody thinks is dead, but is actually still alive. Is this where he got his idea from? Was it possible for him to do this in real life? Then comes the people who know he's still alive, predominantly his brothers and his family members. Latoya, his sister, even states that Michael was found in Dr. Murray's room after collapsing, not in his bed. Oops. Jermaine made a huge slip of the tongue when being interviewed on Fox Radio in 2010. Listen to this blunder.
Michael was very, very healthy. He had passed physicals for the show. His heart was in. They had said he suffered a heart attack and all this kind of stuff. He was very, very healthy. But Michael was not with us way before he arrived to the airport.
What do you mean by that? You had not seen
way
him
before
for a
he
long
arrived to
time?
the hospital.
Right. Okay, so
Well, that's not easy to do, is it? Airport, hospital, easy to mess them up, right? But add this to the mix. LAX, Los Angeles Airport, was shut down for 2 hours on the 25th of June after Michael Jackson's sudden death. Yet a mysterious private jet departed from the airport during this time. The staff at the airport had been told to ignore the plane as it was a VIP. This is interesting since Jermaine Jackson made this little slip up. Did you notice how the woman who interviewed Jermaine gives him a strange look, and it's then that Jermaine quickly corrects himself? Oops. On the day, Michael was transported from ambulance to a helicopter to get him to the hospital quicker. A news cameraman captured the flight of the helicopter, but he inadvertently captured something else too. Watch this and tell me that the white sheet covering Michael's body doesn't move. It sure seems to me that it does. What do you think? I'm convinced that it moved. Someone under that sheet suddenly sat upright. Watch it again. Let me know what you think. Just 2 days after Michael's death, two of his brothers, Randy and Marlon, visited the rented property where Michael was found. Coming out, reporters confronted the two. Strangely, the brothers seemed happy. They were laughing and in a totally relaxed mood. But what was even more strange was the masked person sat in the back seat. There was not meant to be anyone in the back seat. You can clearly see Marlon turning to talk to whoever was in the back seat. And as the car pulls away, the person is clearly visible. Did you see it? Was this Michael's ghost, or was it simply Michael himself? There is also footage believed to be Michael getting out of the ambulance after it had returned to the hospital after transferring him to the helicopter. Bearing in mind Michael's distinctive look, is this him walking out of the ambulance and through the doorway? What do you reckon? Looks weird to me. Other sightings of Michael have emerged during the years since his alleged death. One was spotted in the back seat of his daughter Paris's car. But that's just a shadow, could be anyone really. There is one clip where Michael is outside the back of a club. His shocked look when he realises someone is filming him says it all. Watch. Was that him? Or was it a very, very good impersonator? People that truly think he is still alive claim that he continues to visit his children. There is footage from a yacht where an out-of-place person is with them. He doesn't blend in with the scene. Is this Michael in disguise? He looks out of place, don't you think? Before we end this video, there is a couple of things that I think need adding before you make up your mind completely. Silicone masks nowadays are truly out of this world. If you wanted to and you had the money, you could disappear quite easily. Look at this. I thought it was a hoax first off, but it isn't.
Really easy to put on. Eye fitment's really good, really comfortable eye holes. This is the first edition mask of it. Really nice.
Ain't that cool? Secondly, before all the Jackson haters bleat their spleen and call him for his relationships with children, there are two actors stroke personalities that are open about what is going on in Hollywood with regards to the treatment of child actors. They are that open that the media constantly try to silence them. They are Macaulay Culkin, him of Home Alone fame, and Corey Feldman, who starred in The Goonies and other films. Considering they are constantly whistleblowing on certain celebrities and exposing certain Hollywood truths, they, both of them, defend Michael to the hilt and adamantly confess that their time with Michael was pure fun and nothing else happened, nothing at all. Now, in my eyes, if these two brave individuals say Michael is sound, then I, myself, will believe them much, much more than I would the media. Wouldn't you? At the end of the day, Michael Jackson's legacy lives on. But is he gone forever? Is he singing upstairs with harp in hand? Or has he planned and pulled off the greatest disappearing act known to man? You be the judge. Thanks for watching. Can I just say that my last video, the Marilyn Monroe video, was banned by YouTube for some reason. Then it was reinstated after they had cut bits from it and only accessible by the over 18s and if you're signed in on YouTube. I've appealed, but hey ho, they said no. Did I get too close to the truth? It's still accessible, but you've got to be over 18 and you've got to be signed in. Anyhow, if you like this video, please click the like button so that it can reach other like-minded folk like you, and check that you're still subscribed with the notification bell tapped. The channel is 1 year old on the 24th of January. It's been crazy. I look back at some of my old stuff and blush sometimes. But we all have to start somewhere, and I'm still learning today and always will. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep practicing that moonwalk. Take care. Bye for now.